guys, welcome back. So it's been a couple weeks, but here we are. So one of the places that we left off last time is I was talking about how these high-tech servos had too much slop, so we need to swap them out, and that's what I was in the process of doing. So I've only gotten the one side done, as I think I even said in the video, and so now we need to do this side. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this out. I just kind of wanted to show you guys how the servos are removed here. So basically there's these little servo L brackets, and I've just got a screw on each side holding it in. So let's go ahead and get that out and get ready to swap in. Okay, so now that that's out, one thing I should probably done first is actually disconnect the servo lead from the servo extension that goes up through the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and just pull this out, and then we'll go ahead and put the new servo in. So one of the things that I had done on the original one, not really sure why, but I put these little rubber vibration dampening things on there. But you really don't need that in an EDF, and so that could have potentially contributed to some of the slop as well. So we're going to get those guys out of there when we put the new one in. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got our L brackets back on there, and from the helicopter I just used these, they're basically carbon fiber like washers. Anyways, and put those on there, but now we don't have that rubbery stuff on there, so it isn't going to move. So we'll go ahead and put these back in. Had a little bit of trouble pulling it out earlier, but it was just because the cable had gotten wrapped up underneath this L bracket. So normally they're a lot easier to take out than that. So also have my servo extension on there, and I will end up shrink wrapping that, but for the sake of the video I'm just going to install this and kind of show you how that works. So let's get going. I'm going to put the screws in first so that I don't have to try to line it up. Alright, it's all installed now, so now it just comes down to putting in the control horn again, and I decided to stick with these guys here. So I had bought a bunch of these guys here, but when I tested it out, so the way it connects to that little arm is with this little white guy right there. But anyway, you're not going to really be able to see it on the video, but there's a little bit of slop in there. And it just translates so much that when you go through that torque rod, that I tried it with one of these guys, and it doesn't have the slop. So that's why I stuck with that. So alright, so I'll connect up that control arm. You're not going to be able to see that because I have to go in by feel inside the tail end of the plane, and it's just not going to make a good video. So just trust me, that's what we're doing. I'm going to hook it up and we'll be good to go. Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to look at is putting on our covers. Those guys. They just go on like that with 4 screws. And the directions call for these mounting blocks to be put in each corner. These are kind of overkill, I think. And they don't fit nice and all that stuff. So I'm going to use just our, not really popsicle sticks, but I just got these at the local store in the craft section. They're just little wooden sticks. But they're going to be a little bit smaller in the corner. But the very first thing I'm going to do is make a jig. So we'll have these little squares underneath the corners there, but I'm going to make a jig so that I can screw the holes in the exact same spots on all 4 corners so it'll look nice and neat and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and make that jig and kind of show you. Okay, so now we're getting ready to drill our holes into this bad boy. So here's the little jig I made. All I did was took a little block, crisscross from the corners there to get the center point, and then laid that block onto our part like that, and then I just glued these little guides onto the sides. So, and then I just took a pin vise and drilled in there. So now we'll be able to just lay that up there, take the pin vise, and get this bottom corner, and then drill the hole with the pin vise, and then we'll just do the other 2 corners. So I'll put you on fast forward here, and that's exactly what we'll do. Okay, there we go. We just need to do this on the other side and for our nose gear steering servo door. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that I've got the other doors cut, or drilled I should say, we're gonna use these now as a template for the holes that go on here. So just gonna rest it on top there like that. Make sure it fits good, and just make our little marks here. And I have not put the wood blocks in yet. I'm still debating on what I'm going to do for that. I might be doing little triangular blocks to fit in a little bit neater. So for now, let's just get all the holes marked. And I made the drill bit I picked, I just eyeballed it, but it's just a little bit smaller than the little screws, and we'll have to kind of open these up a little bit so that the screws countersink just on this outside panel, but the inside and the wood are going to be the smaller size so that the threads have something to bite into. Okay, so we've got our marks, and now we can drill them out. Alright, bada boom, bada bing. So, probably want to somehow label that one. And I'm going to label this one. L for left. And since it's upside down, this is actually the left side. So now I just need to come up with a plan for the little blocks that I'll glue under here, and I'll probably just do little triangles. So we'll see. But once I decide, we'll go on to the next step. Okay guys, so I had to test out my idea before I showed you, just to make sure it works, but it fits real nice and the screws are nice and flush and everything. The door needs to be trimmed a little bit on this back side. I'll just sand it with the belt sander because it overlaps a little bit, so this side sticks up but everything else is nice and flush. So just a little bit of trim and fit there. So here's what I did. So first thing I did is I cut a little square here that is exactly the same size as what's on our little jig. So I just cut out a square like that, and then I cut that in two. So 2 squares equals 4 little triangles that we're going to put up in the corners of our servo opening there. So next thing that we need to do is to prepare our actual cover, and like I said, we need to make these holes bigger so that we can countersink our little screws. So the way I did that was I found a drill bit, awesome, I just dropped it on the floor, that is a little bit bigger. In fact, I did like 2 stages. Let me show you that real quick. Okay, so the screws that we're using are those little guys right there, and they're the same size screws that are used for the gear doors, which I don't know exactly what size that is, but if you refer to the instructions, it'll tell you. So right now that fits in perfect into the little holes that we drilled. So then what I did is I just eyeballed and picked a drill bit that's just, oh, there we go, that's smaller than the head of the screw, but bigger than the threads, if that makes sense. So so what we'll do, let me get you on a tripod here, but we're not going to go all the way through. We're just going to go till the little pointy, where the little pointy just starts to come through the other side there. So let's go ahead and I'll show you that. We'll do all 4 sides. Okay, so I'm just going to put my finger on the back side there so I can feel it as it starts to come through. And all you need to do is just a little bit, and just as soon as I feel it touch my finger, done. Okay. Okay, done. Okay. Done. Okay, and done. Alright, so the next drill bit that I picked is actually just a little bit bigger than the screw head. Okay, so on this one, I guess I didn't use the pin vise for that, but so this one, we're just gonna go right around the outside, and you just want to do a little bit so that you get, hopefully you can see that, so nice so that it countersinks. So we're gonna test that out. And yeah, that's nice and nice and flush. We might be able to go just a little bit more, but we just don't want the screw to pull itself through. And right now we've still got enough material there that that's not going to happen. So I think I'm just going to do just a smidge more. Just like that. Alright, and then you just do the others. Okay, let's test those. Maybe just a hair more. That one's perfect. Alright, so that's how I did that. Now, how did I apply these bad boys? So all I did on this is I made a little tool, which is basically a paper clip with some tape wrapped around it. I just push that into position like that, and took some CA, saturated the top there, and then I just lifted it into the corner, let it sit there until it sets up, and then I can just pull the paper clip away. So that's how I did the corners. Then pretty much all you need to do is, with your small drill bit again, is just pre-drill the wood and drill your screw your screws in, and then you're done. So one more time, I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. When you're all done, you should end up with that. Alright guys, we'll see you on the next video.